Are you a hardworking local business owner striving for success online? There is help. Welcome to the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast, featuring candid conversations and inspiring stories of online success. Now, here's your host.
Yes, this is James Martell, and I am your host for the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast. And today, Olive Oliver, a local customer acquisition specialist and a partner here at Smarter Local, is joining me as my co-host. And today we're going to be discussing how to use Facebook to grow your local business, do's and don'ts. Now, before Olive joins us, just a reminder that if you would love to finally have in place a rock-solid internet marketing strategy for your business that provides you with an excellent ongoing return on investment, go ahead and reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free 30-minute consultation to discuss how a Smarter Local Marketing program can be custom tailored to your specific needs in business. Again, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no obligation, 30-minute consultation. Again, Olive Oliver is a local customer acquisition specialist and a partner here at Smarter Local. Olive, how are you doing on this fine day?
Fine, it's fine. It's been a nice day and a good evening.
That's actually true. You happen to be in London, of course. I'm in Vancouver, two world-class cities. And I've never been over to your side. Actually, I've been to Europe, but I've never been to London.
Oh, you're missing out. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm a big history buff, and my wife and I, we've got it on the list to do a big trip, and that's probably going to be one of the places we want to definitely pop into.
Yes, definitely.
So today we're going to talk about Facebook from a local business's perspective and how to grow a local business using Facebook. And I know you're going to share some of the do's and the don'ts. I was looking at some Facebook stats before we got on the show here today just to get up to speed on exactly where they're at. And of course, we've all watched Facebook grow over the years, and I would think every listener has a Facebook account for the most part, and so do their friends, their family. Everybody seems to be on Facebook and is absolutely a going concern. I know they have now over 2 billion active users, of which over 1 billion are logged in every single day into Facebook, which I think you'd agree, Olive, that's one of those stats that's just impossible to get your head around.
Oh, yes. Just can't think about those numbers. Don't mean nothing to us ordinary mere humans, but basically I think it's true to say that practically everybody, as you said before, has got a Facebook account, and probably even some pets as well, for all we know.
Probably. I know our entire family, for the most part, extended family and family we haven't seen for years, and we kind of don't know that well. Because of Facebook, we're now way better connected. And I know from a business side of perspective as well, I attend a lot of search conferences and marketing conferences, and I do a lot of speaking engagements and stuff like that. And I've got to know a ton of people in the industry where prior to Facebook, there was really no way to keep in touch so well. Whereas today, everybody's interconnected. We're all in special groups, and Facebook is just, honestly, it's amazing. If somebody would have told me back in 2004, 2005, that there was going to be another website that's coming along strong, that's going to be as powerful as Google, but totally different, I would have probably thought maybe they're a little bit insane, because I don't think anybody saw this coming.
No, they don't. And talking to local business owners, when I say, you've thought about Facebook as a way to attract local customers, they say, isn't that just for people doing selfies and posting things? And I says, it is and it isn't. But the most important thing with Facebook is the news feed and the adverts that come up in that. That is how to use that to get in front of your potential customers. Particularly, Facebook can target down to cities, postcodes, and that sort of thing, which I think a lot of local businesses just do not realize just how powerful it is.
It's so true. Yesterday, Arlene, my wife, comes walking into my home office here, and she puts on my desk 2 Yellow Page directories that just landed on our doorstep yesterday. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? This is so archaic. I can't remember the last time I opened a phone book. Really, I have no idea. She hands me this, and I'm thumbing through it, and the white pages, the text is so small now It's like microscopic. If you had a magnifying glass, you could read it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is so small. Why are you even bothering? And which takes me now over to Facebook again, as people wonder, where do the people go that were listening to the radio and were reading the local newspapers and they were using the yellow pages? Well, of course, they're all online now. So another reason we want to take Facebook for granted, not for granted, and take advantage of what they can offer a local business owner, is that's where your customers are hanging out. Just like your family and friends and everybody else is hanging out there, so are all your customers. And as you said, with the adverts and the various things that we can do on Facebook, you can get in front of that audience, and you can do it at a local level and keep the cost down to very reasonable, and you can really build it out. So let's do this. I know you've got some specific points. You do a lot of Facebook business. One of the things that you mentioned to me yesterday when we were preparing is that we got to talk about setting a start and an end date.
Yes, definitely. When you do a Facebook advertising campaign, paid for advertising, it defaults to continuous, which means it will run your ad all the time. The only problem with that is because Facebook works on algorithms, if you give it a start and an end point, like any computer program, it knows what it's got to do in a set amount of time. So it will then optimize it for that amount of time, and therefore you can analyze the results, you can find out what's going on. The other thing about not doing it continuous, which we'll come to in more details later, of course, is that every time it does that, the costs are going up. So you want to know that you optimize the algorithm by saying you start at this point, you end at this point, and then the program will optimize it for that, as opposed to say continuously, and it sort of might come back. You won't optimize, so therefore your advert will fall further down the list, but you're still being charged. So definitely have a start and an end date. And in fact, when I did, I was at a Chamber of Commerce meeting a few months back, and I happened to be talking to one person and just sort of saying these sort of things. The next thing I know, I was surrounded by 5 or 6 local business owners not realising and saying to me, oh, they didn't realise that's the effect it would have by not having a start and end date.
Yeah. So, what's interesting to me, too, is the other thing, you got to pay attention to this, don't you? This is not a set it and forget it. It's an algorithm. It's learning. It'll gobble up your credit card, no problem. So you got to be on top of it. A start and an end date is one thing, but they got to check back in and see how things are doing and make adjustments.
Definitely. That's sort of like the second thing I would actually say to people is test it. So therefore you have a start and an end date. So you might have it for running for 2-3 days just to check the reach, which is how many people it's been put in front of, how many people have actually taken action, to try and make sure that you're hitting your right audience, but check back regularly. And to be fair, a lot of people, when they sort of look into Facebook, it does look a bit daunting at first, but once you get used to it and also understand what it's put in front of you, some of the tools they've got there are very nice, and there's nice little graphs to show you who is interacted with you by age, by gender, various things like that. So what I would say to everybody is just have a look at it until you actually put your credit card in. There's no cost to it, so you can actually just look at things and play around a little bit, but just get comfortable with it.
I've noticed as well that these interfaces, or these dashboards, so to speak, when we log into Facebook ads or log into Google AdWords, they're actually getting to be much more user-friendly. They're not like the early days where you almost needed to be a rocket scientist to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
And I know some people have had that experience, so they kind of sway away from it, but they're getting much easier to use, more intuitive, more user-friendly. So I would echo what you say. Get in there, have a look around, read the tutorials. They're not that complicated. They're used to talking to people that have little experience with it, and that's kind of what they're set up for.
And also I would say, even if you think, oh, okay, it's a little bit daunting, at least understand the terminology. So if you commission somebody else, you ask them things like, as my campaign got a start and end date, it puts you in a good stead to actually look. People think, oh, actually this person knows what they're talking about, but you can gauge the quality of the people you're dealing with by just have a little bit of knowledge to know what's going on.
The other thing too is, with Facebook ads, you can actually track your results, unlike a lot of cases with Yellow Pages or newspapers or other forms of advertising in days gone by, where it was much more difficult to track if you were getting anything out of it. It was the old saying, 50% of advertising works, the other 50% doesn't. The problem is you don't know which 50%, so you end up saying the whole 100%. Where online, if you're on top of it and you take the time to learn it, you can actually manage and track your results. So like anything, you can turn stuff off that's not working and expand upon the ads that are.
Yes, there is so much information that you can get back on your customers now, which you were saying about Yellow Pages. In Yellow Pages, you really didn't know where your customers, how effective that advertising was realistically. Whereas with online, which is why it's so important to local businesses, you are so much more in control of what is going on. You know exactly what is happening. For the first time ever, I would say, apart from, I suppose, back in the Middle Ages when there was only a village full of a couple hundred people, you knew everybody. But now it's so much stuff out there that there is no excuse for not knowing exactly where your customers come from and what they actually do and what they want.
I actually have to say this. I was wondering, should I say this? I'm going to say it. I was talking to a client the other day who is now a client of mine, but wasn't. And I've heard this before. We weren't talking about Facebook ads. We were talking about Google AdWords, which is basically the Google equivalent. He says, I tried Google AdWords. It doesn't work. I kind of smile. I mean, Google AdWords works big time. So does Facebook. Whether you applied it properly and it worked for you or didn't, that's the question. But the genie's out of the bottle on these two forms of advertising. They absolutely work, and they can bring a flood of new business to your doors. Would that be a fair statement?
Oh, definitely. They do work. Some people I've spoken to, one person said to me, I've tried, Facebook ads, it doesn't work, I haven't got anything. And I logged into their Facebook ad manager, had a look at it, and they were targeting 13 million people. Now, with a budget of, I think it was about £10, which is probably about $15 or something like that. And there is no way that was going to do anything other than spend your money, in effect. The targeting of your audience is so critical in terms of, if you're a local business, do you want your customers to come from a 10-15 mile radius? You can actually put that into Facebook and it will then reduce the audience size. Do you want to be, is it mostly males or females? So if you're a barber shop, you'll probably go for males. If you're a hairdressers, you probably go for females. You know who your customers are. Age range, there was no point targeting 65 plus if you're a nightclub. You can actually do that and narrow down your audience, and the key is to put your advert in front of your typical customer who, if you're a small business, you know who your customers are, and you can actually do that. And then the idea is to put your advert in front of it, and don't waste the algorithm or your money trying to put it in front of people who are not interested, which is why, going back to the Yellow Pages, it's almost like making sure Yellow Pages, if someone's looking for a plumber, it actually appears in front of your typical person who's looking for a plumber at the right time. So yeah, Facebook does work, and I've come across on Facebook certain advertisers who are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on Facebook, and it's bringing them back returns of millions of dollars in sales. So they wouldn't be doing that if it didn't work.
Absolutely true. You can even get started as well without a large budget. With Sawbuck's Pub, a little pub we take care of, and we talk about it on a few other episodes a little bit. We run some Facebook ads for them for a few different reasons. We'll run ads for the band. So every second Saturday they bring a band into the pub, and we need to get the word out about that. Of course, we've got our email list, which we talk about in another episode with Jose Quiroz on strategies to quickly grow your email audience. And we use the email to get the word out. But the other big one is we have Facebook. So two ways that we bring in customers into the pub for the band nights, or any other thing that we've got going on in the pub for that matter, is that we will post in the Facebook post for them, and we'll promote it that way. But then, of course, we also run ads. So we can run specific ads in the South Surrey, White Rock area, where it's where the pub's right in the center of it, within a geographical area. So we're not trying to market across the river into places where people are probably not going to come way over here. We're going to target the local market. We're going to look for people who are interested in nightlife, entertainment, live music, and focus only in on them. And I've got a set budget per band of $100, and I don't use the whole 100 usually, and I can fill that pub every single time.
Yes, you're right. You don't have to start off at a large budget, and also depending if all you want to do is attract people raise awareness and attract people to your Facebook business page, you can get away with a very small budget to do that, because all you want to do is to get people to find out and like your page. Once people are aware of what you're doing, they'll come back. So for a small local business, I would say you do not need a massive budget on Facebook, and I wouldn't advise it anyway, because there will be some testing needed to find out the right audience criteria to make sure you hit. So there's no point putting in a very large budget, thousands of pounds or dollars initially. Just test it out a little bit, and these things run so quickly, it's so easy to do. You can actually do some experimenting and testing in the space of a couple of weeks. You could do quite a few to find out what the response is.
I'm just on the Sawbucks Facebook page, facebook.com/Sawbucks Pub, and I'm looking at them. We've got 5,277 people like this and 5,174 people follow this. And you mentioned that, and that's a good idea, and we've done this with Facebook and others, is to use some of your advertising dollars to build up your Facebook followers and your Facebook likes, because those are the people that are going to see your posts. So you spend a little money to get them to your page, get them to like and follow you, and now when you're posting, these are the people that are going to see you. So you spend a little bit to get them on board, just like an email. You spend a little bit to get them on your email list, and then you can email them for as long as they're a subscriber. Same with Facebook, isn't that correct? You can build up your followers, then when you're adding the post, these are the people that see it.
Yes, and also, particularly for local businesses like Sawbucks Pub, where you've got the regulars, they will probably bookmark that page and go back regularly on their own just to check out what's going on. And also people go and interact and post comments, and again you get that interaction going. So it's a two-way sort of thing, because people will actually think, sort of bookmark it, think, oh yeah, I'll go and see what's going on in the pub this week, which band is playing, without the adverts, because you've already engaged them, because they know where it is, and it's a regular night spot for them, etc. So it's great. It does so much for small businesses.
So you mentioned definitely using a start and an end date, and some of the reasons why. We're talking a little bit about budget now. Any idea, any recommendations? We don't need to spend a lot to begin. You said test. What do you think the business owner should start with as far as budget goes?
Well, I think you can set your budget in one of two ways. Either a daily rate, which I would say start off at perhaps $2 or $3 a day and see what happens, or you can set a lifetime budget. So, for example, if you're going to run an ad, and I would recommend that you run an ad in 2-week blocks, just so you can have go back to those reviews at the end of that period, and you can always start it up again. That's fine. So you could then have a lifetime budget of $50, $100. You can always increase it, because it's such a quick response rate. It's not like putting an ad in a local paper years ago where there's a deadline, on a Friday or whenever it is, and all that sort of stuff. You can quickly change. So I would start off with a small $5, $6 if it's something very complicated, or maybe even just $2 if you're just going for the Facebook likes. See how that works, and then adjust it as you go along. And certainly have a lifetime budget. If you decide to run an ad for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, put a limit on that, and you can work out each day how much you're going to spend, but make sure you have a limit. Facebook will suggest one to you if you choose the lifetime option, but you don't have to take that if that's not what you want. I mean, it's very good at suggesting things, Facebook, but not necessarily the cheapest option.
Yeah. Maybe we make a recommendation. We talked about at the top of the show here, 2 billion people on Facebook, and 1 billion of them logged in every day. To kind of hit it home, because we also said that's a hard number to get your head around. Sawbucks Pub is an example. They've got 5,200-ish followers. I know, because we've helped build them, the vast majority, I would bet 95+% are local. These are people in the community. So when these posts go out, we're in front of their audience and their potential audience. So you really can, and this kind of leads into our audience. You touched upon it a little bit, and targeting and narrowing it down. Could you talk to that a little bit more? Because you don't have to waste any money targeting people and places that you're never going to draw a business from.
Yes, for example, if you take London, for example, that is a massive city, and you could have a small area. So I'll give you a quick example. Say within 2 miles of Buckingham Palace, if you really wanted to be that, you could actually target it down to that narrow location. And you can also say either people who live in the area, or people who are passing through, or everybody. So people passing through, people might be people working in the area, or whatever. So you can actually get that specific, and it then, as you do that, Facebook will tell you the potential reach, and you can see it goes down from, how many ever millions of people in the UK to a narrow area. And then you then need to think about, are you targeting males, females, the age range, bearing in mind what you're actually offering. And then you can also then look at people's interests and behaviours. So, for example, a car showroom, you want to target people who are interested in BMWs or Lexus or the luxury brand. You might say, right, people are interested in BMWs, or people are also interested in Rolex watches. Now, the reason you'd choose Rolex watches is because then that's an indication of the potential price range or income level that might then also then go and buy BMWs or Lexus or luxury cars, sort of thing. The other good thing about Facebook is it's got so many little interest groups. So if you're a very specialist niche market as well, you can also then look for people who are interested in those sort of groups, and it will then, the algorithm is really very clever. It will put your adverts in front of those sort of people.
Yes. Now, let me just give a definition, too, of the algorithm and that word we use. Algorithm is simply a mathematical formula that Facebook, in this particular instance, has come up with to determine where and when you should be listed in front of their audience. And that's where the magic happens. Google's famous for it too, is when whether you're doing a natural search, or you're doing a search in Google, whether you're coming up with the natural results or finding natural Google results, or you're seeing the paid ads, it's all based on what they call their algorithm. And they're trying to determine who you are, what you're looking for, or in this context, who your customers are, or clients are when they're looking for you, so they can put your ads in front of them. And I've seen this up front and close many times, is Facebook and Google really does want to send you customers. Would that be a fair statement?
Oh yes, definitely. They definitely do, and the amount of information that these algorithms are really, really clever. They can actually track, which page that you've gone and looked at, which groups you belong to, if you've made purchases on Facebook, because now also on Facebook, that's something I forgot to say, if you have a local business that sells products, you can also set up on your Facebook business page a shop and put products in it, and Facebook will set it up so that you'll take payments and everything else on your behalf as well. So, they're making life so much easier for the local businesses to get the customers, because their ultimate aim is that people stay within the Facebook environment, and you do everything within that. So yeah, they want to send you customers because they also want to keep the interaction with their users and keep it fresh and something new.
You bet. And they also know that if you're unhappy and you're spending a little bit of money with them and it doesn't work and you leave, that's not good for them either. So in the same way we all want repeat customers, so do they when it comes to their ads. So hey, could you do this? Sometimes we're wondering, okay, this sounds good. I'm going to get logged in. I'm going to figure out how to use this. Enlists the services of somebody at Smarter Local to help with that, or maybe they're going to go look up a YouTube tutorial on how to run Facebook ads. But give some advice, if you would, on how to write an ad. And it is a challenge. It's a challenge to write an ad. The world's been writing ads forever, and there is an art to it. But because you can track it and you can test it, you can adjust things on the fly. Unlike newspapers, when you spend your money, it's gone. It's out the door. It's printed. Whether it works or not, it's too late. Writing ads, though, talk about that.
Well, what I would say, the Facebook platform is unique in terms of, if you can imagine, most people are on their mobile phones nowadays, and what happens, you see an advert comes across, it's got to be eye-catching. So the first advice I would say is the less text, the better. Images and colours are the thing, because if you imagine you're trying to catch someone's eye and you want them to take action, call to action would be to go back to your Facebook business page or go to your website or do something. So in a way, the words have to be well chosen to actually say what you want, what you mean, and what you want them to do. Sometimes I've seen people write Facebook ads and it's a lot of text and a lot of stuff, and people just do not read that. Video is quite big on Facebook at the moment. It's the big thing, whether it's Facebook Live or videos. So if you have like a little small, it doesn't have to be a complicated video. It could just be a automated PowerPoint presentation or something like that, with just a few words on there to tell people what you do, and then get them potentially, if you haven't got a website or whatever, to come to your Facebook page, like the pub Facebook business page, where they can then interact some more. So I would say to people, don't worry about lots of words. It's the quality of the words that are more important. Choose your words carefully and make them mean something, because you've only got about, I think last time I read something, about 3 seconds to engage somebody. 3 seconds is not a long time.
No, definitely not. Hey, let me offer up a little idea for a tool, or share a tool that I use. And what this, because you mentioned videos, and videos I always find videos for the most part get far more action than just an image. Now images do good, so you should be mixing it up a little bit of both. But there's an app out there called Ripple, and it's spelled RIPL, and it's a free app. And what you can do, you use it on your smartphone, you can use it to create little mini videos very quickly, very powerfully. So you could take, as an example, we have at Sawbucks an entertainer comes in. It's called Nearly Neil, and he's a Neil Diamond impersonator, and he's amazing. So what I do is I go to his page, I gather up some photos from his page, because he offers up promo photos and stuff. So I pull in 2 or 3 of those, get them onto my phone, and then I open up Ripple and I upload the 3 photos into the phone. I write a little bit of text, and then I can choose a little wrap that goes around the video. It adds some beautiful animations and text and everything. And then I can say, okay, share it to Facebook for Sawbucks and share it to Twitter. And then I can schedule it if I like, so I can do a bunch of them in advance. And then I hit the publish button. And if I publish it right now, it shows up on Facebook right away. And they're just these gorgeous little videos. And they get lots of play. And they force you to stay within the Facebook guidelines, because, as you say, you don't want to use a lot of text for a few reasons. You want to get short and quick to the point. But it's Ripple, RIPL. I'd highly recommend checking it out. Download the free version and give it a try. You'll love it.
And also, I can suggest that for any small businesses that are listening. If you're a restaurant and you've done a wonderful layout of a meal or something, just take, just a little images of that and put those up there with a little text to say something like, this is what you can have tonight if you come, or something like that. It doesn't have to be really complicated and lots of lights and various other things, because sometimes I say to people, take an image or a video, and they think you have to be a qualified photographer or something. You don't have to do that, actually.
That's right. That's exactly. In fact, please don't. They want you to be sharing what you're experiencing. And that's such a good point. I remember what turned the corner for me on Facebook, real quick as we wrap up here, is I went and sat with my sister-in-law, who's a Facebook marketing expert, way before I ever learned how to manage it. And she kind of gave me the lay of the land, because I was creating these special images with too much text, and I was creating complicated videos and doing all this stuff. And she says, you know what? And I met her for lunch at the pub. She goes, just tell the story of what's going on here. As you said, I'll take some pictures of the food, share a little message. Here, tonight we have fish and chips on. Here's a picture of it. And you can use the same picture next week.
Yes.
And, we've got Thursday night, we have a crab dinner special. Friday night is a steak skillet. And we've got 2-for-1 this. We got chicken wings Wednesday night. So all of these little pictures and stuff, once you get a catalog of them in your phone or on your computer, it's easy to get out and start promoting this.
And in fact, I think Facebook now, if you've got like a little photos, it actually creates a slideshow, like a little slideshow movie for you. You can set it up to do that for you now.
You bet.
Which is great.
You bet. It's very cool. So, hey, I can see we're up against the clock again. It's been great talking with you. If you would offer up some words of encouragement to business owners that are thinking, hey, I think I can get some business out of this Facebook thing we all play on.
Yes, my advice would be Facebook is not just for social media, socializing. It is actually a genuine way for you to connect with potential customers and existing customers. And, it's great. Just have a go. It's free. It's just not an issue. If you need some help, contact one of us. We will help you. It is so good. It's an opportunity there that you can't pass up.
Olive, thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you.
So there you have it, how to use Facebook to grow your local business, do's and don'ts. We Now, if what we talked about here today makes sense to you, but you're not quite sure how to get started, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no obligation 30-minute consultation and discovery session. Bottom line, we'd love to help bring you more clients and customers. It's what we do. Again, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no obligation 30-minute consultation and discovery session. And finally, if you enjoyed this episode and know a friend or an associate who would benefit from what we shared here today, please do pass this episode on to them. I'm sure they'll thank you for it. Olive, thanks again, and to our listeners, thanks for listening to another edition of the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast. If you would love to finally have in place a rock-solid internet marketing strategy that provides you with an excellent ongoing return on investment, then go ahead and reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange a free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation to discuss how a smarter local marketing program can be tailored to your specific needs and business. Again, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation.